Hi, I'm Frank, Psychic Frank, as it says here. Permit me to introduce myself. I'm Bela Lugosi. We start those Dracula movies. Permit me to introduce myself. Yeah, I'm a psychic healer, transformational. I do transformational stuff, and as far as I see, we're all in big transformation right now. And I was taught years ago to use astrology and numerology because a lot of psychics have these really powerful, strong, clear pictures, but it could be, time frames. So when I use numerology and astrology, in which I'm pretty adept, but I don't call myself an astrologer. I cast them on the chart on the computer. I know how to read them, and I know how to. Well, anyway, I know enough. Anyway, the sun's in its home sign, Leo. That's why I wore these festive beads. When you wear beads walking around the city, people just look at you different. I don't know, maybe because I'm not paranoid, but I notice, wow, I'm the only one really walking around downtown here. Everybody's got suits and but anyway, I enjoy it. They smile. People smile at you. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're wearing beads. For me, I can only speak for myself. I wear them around the house all the time. But I said why not? It's the sun's in Leo, let it shine. Yeah, so everything's in Leo now. The first half, let it roar. Sun, Venus. Just the other day, last night, a few hours ago, we had the Leo new moon. So here we are, the first. We're taping this on August 1st. It's actually day 924 of Donald Trump's uh, this lesson, this lesson we're all getting, huh? But things are going to change because we get a full moon, and coming up on August 15th, and that's leadership. Visionary leadership will appear, global awareness connections. And what's going to happen just before that, on Sunday the 11th, Jupiter goes direct. Mercury went direct last night, like 40 minutes roughly after the new moon here in California. Um, that was Pacific time, 8 11 p.m. I looked at the clock. Yeah, and then I did a reading. I sat at my desk, and it was great. I had a wonderful time with my parrot. Today's our anniversary. 24 years we've been together. I'll pick up something on the way home for her. August 1st. Yeah. So today's August 1st. So we had the Mars in Leo, so the Sun and Moon in Leo. Well, the Moon's not in Leo; the Moon's in Virgo now. But so the Sun and Moon last night were in Leo, but Mars in Leo, below it Venus in Leo, and now on the Sunday the 11th here in California, Venus goes back into Leo. So what's gonna and then that night, Mercury at 7:26 p.m. Uranus goes retrograde. We're gonna talk about that. There's a lot, and but then next month. Saturn goes direct the middle of September. We'll talk about that. So, whatever we started in July, the beginning of July, when Mercury was 2 degrees Leo, and then it's been a lot of postponements because Venus backed up July 8th back into 19th. She went from 0 Leo to 29 Cancer. She's still in Cancer, but she'll be in Cancer until the 11th when she goes into Leo, so things will resume then. And the thing with Jupiter's been retrograde for the last 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. So now when Jupiter goes direct, we're going to see collectively all these subpoenas that Nancy Pelosi is waiting for. They're waiting for these courts to get, release all these documents. They'll get released. Yeah, when Jupiter goes direct, they will be released. They're probably right now in some file cabinet going, release us, release us. Okay, so yeah, Jupiter went retrograde April April 11th, 24 degrees Sag, and now it's going direct 14 degrees. So that's a good thing. That's going to be a hot day. Well, we're in the dog days of summer here. August. Happy August, everybody. So, universally, it's a 3 year. 2019 is 3. Numerology, we reduce things to single digits except for 11, 22, 33, 44. Those are master numbers. You want to keep them elevated whenever possible. Um, and yeah, okay, so it's all about August is about action. Yeah, uh, we're through with all this cancer stuff. This July was eclipse month. It was the most emotional. It was like, revelations that come with pain. First, the truth will make you miserable. So I think a lot of people, whether they wanted it or not, everything, everything happened. I'm just not speaking for myself. I mean, collectively, the whole planet. But now, especially here in America, we're going through these paradigm changes with all Pluto. As I said, the structure is Saturn, and now Pluto's coming along and the deconstruction before the new construction, and it's from the remains of the old tree that the new nothing remotely resembles what it used to look like. So God, bless Donald Trump, because it took what it took. He's the epitome of what I've known, and no shock to me when they say no poop, Sherlock. Only they say the S word, no S, Sherlock. Yeah, yeah, because and Mars, Venus, and Mercury, the second half of the month, all go into of this August. Yeah, right around the 21st. Mars goes into Virgo. The end of the month, Mercury goes into Virgo. Venus on the 21st. And then the sun on the 23rd. So it'll be so enjoy this Leo stuff while it's happening until Playful Leo. Lions like to roar, but they'd much rather purr. I want to get a little story out because I think we're all impatient. We're all impatient. And where we are last time I was here, I started my show because I said, we're all dealing with this the polarity now for the next 6 months. And is between Capricorn, Cancer, the North Node, make love, not war. That's the Dharma. The karma is the Capricorn stuff. That's why Saturn is, all this karmic stuff we're dealing with. These souls are, this karmic thing. So in essence, Pima has a wonderful, in her book, Start Where You Are, she has in a few sentences, Dharma is good instruction to help you stay awake, developing the habit of your way of perceiving everything. It's and Uranus is giving us revelations, of truth, they're coming when you don't even want them. And it's all about nature. It's all about, the rhythm of nature. So, and speaking of that, it'll never be a better time. Here's Kerry Walter's book, Giving Up God to Find God. I gotta break down and buy a copy of this book. This guy's a teacher at Gettysburg College, and he's on the road, I understand. And he says something interesting about patience and prudence. It's an amazing thing. Yeah, he says too, prudence is a child of reason and reflection, not panic. So it's essential when it comes to making wise decisions that the ancient philosophers considered it more than just a useful skill. To them, it was a full-fledged virtue. Prudence, that was a Victorian word, a name. Remember the Beatles, Dear Prudence? Well, the only people my age would remember that. Yeah, I'm a few months away from being 71. I'm loving this. I never expected just the word. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel. I feel younger, but it's just now I've reached. Like they say, what happens to prostitutes and real estate? They get respectable with old age. Well, I'm neither of those things, but I don't think I ever was. But you do get respect. At least if you don't respect yourself by 70, honey, you never will. Respect yourself. I've been hearing the Harlem Nocturne in my head. I was humming it all the way down here. That's such a haunting song. Harlem Nocturne. Oh man, it blows my mind. Okay. So this guy's having like the day I'm having. You know, he's on one with the nature. He's having an anniversary with his bird. Who knows? And he says this guy calls it Kerry Walters him an egghead. An egghead, so absorbed in, with his abstractions of actual events, uncomfortably in the messy world. He's in this, not going to see his screen is, he's got the blinders. He's not seeing the real world. And anyway, he's all full of himself. The sun is pleasantly warm, and summer insects, with like a melody chirping. And then he walks, he notices a cocoon hanging from the twig on an aromatic shrub. He pauses to take a closer look at one of them and is startled when he is delighted to see that the casing of the cocoon is quivering. The butterfly inside is struggling to break free! Exclamation point. Suddenly longing with all his being to strive as its midwife, the man snaps off the twig to which the cocoon is attached, cups it to his hand, raises it to his mouth, and gently exhales it on it, hoping the warmth of his breath will accelerate the butterfly's birth. And it does. The cocoon's movements grow more agitated, and before long it breaks open. But to the man's horror, what emerges isn't the beautiful winged creature he yearned to see, but a broken, wet monstrosity that feebly flaps its crumpled wings for a few seconds before collapsing in his hands. The man's eagerness to accelerate the birthing process forced the butterfly out before it was ready. It ultimately born untimely death. Well, now wait, don't be so bummed out here. Just let that, this is a lesson here. Now this tale is chilling warning against impatiently rushing things. Not all things done hurriedly are done impatiently. Think of catching a bus or responding to an emergency or skeleton, but most of our kinetic and emotional responding is very much fueled by impatience. Okay, in culture we live, actively encourages it. One perception, someone says we speed date, eat food fast, checkout lines, grocery store, honk when we speak on Twitter in 150 characters or less. Some of us tweets are. This was written a few years, way like decades before Trump. To be impatient is to be unwilling to wait. That much is obvious. The important question is why we find waiting so intolerable. The answer in most cases is anxiety and fear. We rush around because we're programmed by our fast-paced and success-oriented culture to fear wasting time or missing opportunities or losing control of the situation which we find ourselves. What an illusion, like we have control. Life's going to happen. We scamper how we react to it. See, that's the whole thing. This is happening for us, not to us. We scamper because when we're anxious, we feel the need to be active, to take charge, to be productive, to get things done, anything done. Don't just sit there waiting. Do something! Exclamation point. Be the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. The fear or the anxiety that breeds impatience oughtn't be confused with prudence. Although it sometimes is, prudence tells us that it's reasonable to make a run for the bus when we have a good chance of catching it. Prudence tells us the physician that her patient's appendix needs to come out now, and the ice sculptor says that it can't dawdle too long over his block of ice. But while prudent person knows that sometimes it's appropriate to do things in a hurry, she also knows that at other times the prudent thing is not to rush around at all, to bide her time, to wait, to look, to think. Prudence is a child of reason, a reflection, not panic. The woman who raised me, I can't really call her my mother, really, because she really she was my adopted mother, and she never let me forget that. But she was a sweet lady. I love her. Yeah, she's, and she used to say, she had a lot of adopted kids around, and she would always say, patience, especially to me, I can remember it vividly saying, patience is a virtue I do not possess. And we knew she meant business then, and I made myself scarce. I made like a banana and split. Thank God my grandparents lived like not far away, and it was my go-to place. Yeah, it's interesting how the Lord provides. Yeah, so so it says prudence is a child of reason, not panic. So it's essential when it comes to making wise decisions that the ancient philosophers considered it more than just a useful skill. To them, it was a full-fledged virtue. Fear, on the other hand, doesn't make rational appraisals of a situation. A fearful person is impatient with prudent advice to consider alternative options or to wait and see. When a perceived threat arises, action needs to be taken now. 9/11. Go to another country. Boy, when a perceived threat arises now, moreover, impatience can become such a patterned response that it rears its head in situations where there's really no reason for anxiety or fear at all. It becomes a habit. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious there. So anyway, we'll read more about that as life goes on. So patience there, And then there was something else I wanted to get to, but it'll come to later there. Okay, so let's see what the astrological stuff is going on. Let me see what else I got. Oh, yeah, so, the Donald Trump stuff, the 90-pound gorilla, it's hard to even say that, this thing there, these people, Sessions and all that. The whole thing is in five little words. The cruelty is the point. They're intentionally doing these cruel, sadistic things to make an example, I guess. What we do now could not be more key. Yeah, so bearing witness, that's why we're here. That's what this book's all about. We're incarnated now to experience and bear witness to what's going on here. Non-judgmental attentiveness. I heard someone say interesting, if we don't deal with this hate will deal with us. Representative Al Green. God bless that man. Science cannot solve the ultimate mystery of nature. And Uranus is in Taurus now for the next 7 years. So it's all about, it's real easy. I mean, it's easy access to just drop your grounding cord, whatever technique you use, take a few grounding breaths. And I had to pull myself away. I was ready to cross the street, a busy street down here, downtown San Francisco. And there was these beautiful California poppies out of the crack in the sidewalk on the curb. And I just looked at them, and then I realized the light changed and went, and I said, I got to go. I can't be digging these flowers on the sidewalk. Courage is knowing what not to fear. See, we can't eat the menu instead of the meal. Even though they're doing these despicable things, we just got to trust that the Lord works in mysterious ways, and cynicism is intellectual treason. A coward is incapable of exhibiting love. It is the prerogative of the brave. Carrie Walters, I have another book of his. They got it from Santa Clara for me out of the public library service they have, link. And it's all about these saints. Contemporary saints, or not so contemporary, and how they, most of them martyred or this or that. And then the last chapter sort of rubbed me in an interesting way. I got my haunches up. He said, and this was written back in 2006. When I guess things were a lot rosier, Donald Obama had was getting elected there. Who knew we were going to cherish that? But that's exactly that's when it all started. That's when it all started. Anyway, okay, so let's say power never takes a back step, only in the face of more power and science. So, okay, let me see what else we got going on here. Okay, so Donald Trump now. Let's look at his birth chart. So what was going on back? Yeah. So right now, I love this Marianne Williamson. Wow, she's really got my attention. Yeah, it's interesting. Death by Despair, #1 in the United States of America. That got my head antennas up. Uh, yeah, they. And I think right under that, there's more suicides happening. Farmers, it's almost like kamikaze. The Japanese, rather than be insulted, if you insulted a Japanese person, they would, they did something disgraceful, they would destroy them. They would, commit harikari. Yeah, they would kill themselves. Well, I think a lot of farmers are going through that. A lot of people are being faced to you know, to what's going on. Yeah, in these camps, what's going on because cruelty is the point. But, we got to really, I always say, because I'm not an astrologer, there's Kathy Rose on YouTube, an astrologer, what she has to say about August, and then Pam Gregory. All you know to know is a little bit or be willing to understand astrology. She even has a website where you, for free, get your chart done if you know the time of your birth. And even if you don't know the time of your birth, you could do a solar chart with 12 noon. And you can get a birth chart for anything when you have a new business or anything like that, or launching a trip. I'll come back to be there about what's going on. Yeah, so all these delays we've all been waiting for, that was, impatiently I have been, and it's been a real test of fate, because Nancy Pelosi is always saying when we can't do anything until we get the hard facts from these documents and these subpoenas and all these tax things, and now they'll be released when Jupiter goes direct. So that's on a Sunday, the 11th. So by Monday, the 12th, we can see, wow, waking up to Monday morning on all the spin shows. Yeah, so all this Leo energy is happening in Donald Trump's house, where he hides things right under his Pluto in the 12th house. And his Mars in Leo, so his modus operandi, the way the man rolls, the despicable way he goes. Yeah, when the tradespeople did this excellent work on all his properties, and then they wanted to get paid, for all the equipment and everything. He said, you could use my name as, boost up your resume. Of course, they got sued, and they lost, because justice is just us. And so, yeah, these little changes, paradigm changes, are a long time coming. But for him personally, for the United States of America, this is all happening in our money house. Second house, opposition to our Mercury, 8th house, second house. We can't look back for a second, or it all turns to garbage. We got to keep on going forward. Oh, yeah, OC. Speaking of Kathy Rose, she used to write a column in the Mountain Astrologer. Then around 10 years ago, or maybe less, she started this YouTube videos. And in the Mountain Astrologer August, September, she has a wonderful picture of Alexandria, or I have it earmarked so I wouldn't have to fiddle around for it. It's a beautiful picture of her. And note the red lipstick, bright red lipstick. And Kathy Rose says something about her chart is why she wears the red lipstick, because she was born with the Mars conjunct her sun. 2015, 20 degree sun, 15 degree Libra sun. And because her moon is, excuse me, in Aries, 3 degrees Aries in the self-expression house. And then what she says here is Mars, Aries, and the color red. When I looked up, this is Kathy Rose. I'm reading from the Mountain Astrologer August, September issue. It's on sale now. I don't have any connection to it except I'm on their mailing list. I subscribe to it. I get it in the mail. It comes out a year, every 2 months. And I've really come to really appreciate it a lot. They've sort of become my family there. When I looked up at OAC's natal planets, it was no surprise to find that she has Sun conjunct Mars. In Oriental, she has Mars rising just before the Sun. With the Moon in Aries, it takes almost no analytical time to anticipate a dominant Aries or Mars signature. Every chart has a major signature, and she's pointing out that this major signature in Alexandria's Miss Ocasio Cortez hyphen Cortez. Um, Mars says, yeah, Aries or Mars signature when you see that bright red lipstick in virtually every picture of and TV appearance of this photogenic political phantom. She's a photogenic political phantom. I love her. I just love her. You know, I have a lot of respect for Joe Biden. Always a vice president, never a president. You know, I mean, I don't think the man leaves fingerprints anymore. You know, in all respect, you know, there's a lot of people. I was just saying about color red years ago. I was in the mystery school, and the woman that ran the mystery school said, "This woman's in town from London who's the expert. She's written many books on color and how to apply it in metaphysical healing and all sorts of stuff like that. In which it's the mystery school, and apply it to the planets and all this. She's the go-to, and she's in her 90s, her late 90s, and it was kind of expensive. This was in the early 80s, and it was a stretch, but I worked it out where I would set things up. I would do that a lot, for wherever I wanted to take a class if I didn't have much money, which was normally the case 30 years ago. I would set up, a thing where I'd work something out where I would clean up or do something afterwards. So anyway, I did pay some money though. I remember it. Part of it was, so I showed up early that Saturday morning, and this woman I helped this woman set up all these chairs. I can't talk. I'm moving my hands. Long story short, she was the woman giving the class. So I was really amazed, and it was a very informative morning. I think it was 4 hours of nonstop bombardment of useful information. To this day, I still use it. And then during the lunch break, it was a small class. We all sort of bonded. And then we were sitting near each other having lunch. And I confessed to her, when I met you this morning, I couldn't believe Norma told me that this woman who gave the class was in her late 90s. And she said, and I looked at you and I thought for sure you were in your 50s, mid 50s tops. And she laughed and she said, "Oh, my boyfriend's in his 50s." This one was in her 90s. And I can't remember her name, but I'll never forget that weekend. It was a Saturday that, as I said. So, yeah, a lot of times when people ask, come for a session or whatever, I'll mention to them, like, this is a yellow year. I've said it a lot. 2019 is yellow. If you want to do numerology just for yourself, it's a useful tool. 2019 is 3. Your day and month reduced to 1 digit, like the United States of America. 4th of July is 11. For the sake of math, we'll do 2. So 2 and 3 is 5. We're a 5 life path. 1776 is when this country was initiated. And we're in a 5 life path, and we're in a 5-year testing through freedom through testing. This country's all about freedom, and we're going through, some, and it's happening. We got to appreciate that we live in this. That's why that story about the butterfly. I hope it didn't gross you out, but I wanted, I had to share that because patience is a virtue that not many possess. Maggie was right. Bless your soul, Maggie, wherever you are, honey. I don't want to, I'm still recovering. I mean, it was an intense, I got just what I needed. Whenever I started going into astrology, astrologists would look at my chart and they'd say, "And you were given up for adoption?" And I was like, what is it written on my forehead? You know, and they would point to that Pluto retrograde in my fourth house. Now I realize, you know, we're really doing two things. We're either burning off karma or creating new karma, you know? So I guess I burned off a lot of karma. But I think I'm always going to have that time grit of 57, you know, going on 18. Um, every tomorrow has two handles. We can take hold of it with the handle of anxiety or handle of faith. Close your eyes, summon your strength, believe. Well, it's got around 20 minutes now. I want to get back to the astrology, but I also want to do some tarot card readings. Uh, da-da-da-da. Okay, you know, I'm really, you know, often said, I haven't said it recently, but for years, you know, the term cafeteria, Catholic cafeteria, you know, well, I feel that way about Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism is, I think, is just the best. But there are certain aspects of it I just don't understand, and I just don't, you know, don't buy it. But I've always, I guess, it's been a good 40 something years now. 40 years I've been studying it and practicing it. It's not a religion. It's knowledge. You know, it's a way of controlling your mind. It's so easy to let our minds get hijacked by the everyday thoughts that fill the air. You know. Hijack your love. Never heard me, man. There. So I always had these protective deities and these Tibetan deities. You've probably seen them with the big eyes and the skulls around their neck. And Pima here says, if you ever at a garage sale, pick them up. You know, offering to the protectors. The fourth practice is to offer to the protectors or ask the protectors to help you with your practice. The protectors protect the principle of enlightenment. They protect our inherent wisdom, our inherent compassion. In this Tanga's Tibetan scroll paintings, they appear as wrathful figures with flames coming out of them, big teeth and claws. I have one right on my front door, and he earns his keep. He's totally utilitarian there. He's not just there for show. I could go on about how many times he's been there for me. Right now, I'm up on. I'm with Garuda and Ganesha in the mystery school. Somebody asked Norma. She was the woman who ran it. She was a very wise woman when she was on. She didn't last long, as most burn out from the temptations of success. May she rest in peace. And they would ask her. Questions there, and he said, okay, about who would be the better protector, Ganesha or Garuda, the bird protector there, it's Tibetan bird protector, Hindu, and she said, I'll get them both, and then they'll fight with each other to compete with each other, not fight, compete with each other to see who can protect you the better. So I have Ganesha and Garuda in my altar there. So she says the protectors protect the principle of enlightenment. They protect our inherent wisdom, our inherent compassion. She goes, in this scroll painting, the protectors are protecting against unkindness, against lapses of wisdom, against harshness, about petty-mindedness, against fundamental insanity of any kind. The reason they appear, we have an insane man who's taken over the White House, and I don't think insane people go out quietly. Nixon was evil, you know, but even he, you know, took the high road out, you know. The reason they appear so wrathful is that they're not going to buy that stuff. And who is it that's not going to buy that stuff? In truth, it's your own wisdom. Under this slogan comes the teaching on learning to appreciate the giant. No. Again, this is based on respect for yourself, loving kindness for yourself, which is to say confidence in your basic goodness. When you start to close down and shut off, an abruptness occurs, which is basically the giant no. It is not authoritarian in the sense that somebody is out to punish you. It's is inherent encouragement not to spin off to neurotic stuff. When anger or any other culture arises, its basic energy is powerful, clean and sharp. It can cut through any neurosis, but usually we don't stop at that. We usually spin off into what's been called negative negativity, which is pettiness, resentment, aggression, righteous indignation. Oh yeah, the president, this guy who calls himself the president, Trump there, he's full of righteous indignation. Do you know who I am? Yeah, that's why that's why we want you out of there, brother. We know exactly who you are. Yeah, the Klan doesn't even wear masks anymore. They're just out. Excuse me, I must. The blood's going to my scalp here. I don't mean to be rude. Yeah, let's say you're upset, you're yelling at someone, they're yelling back, there's a big fight going on, you stomp out the door, slam it on your finger. That's the essence of the protector principle that wakes you up. The outer praxis is to off. See, when you do that, just happened to me recently. My anger really, I did something and but boy, it hurt. It hurt. And thank God it was cured right away. But I learned that lesson. I learned a lesson. It left a scar, and now I know. Now I know. So prudence, prudence, prudence. Let me get some cards going on there. So remember, enjoy this Leo energy while you can. Get it while you can. A friend of mine had a stroke a few years ago. A girl I was really close. We've drifted apart. She lives in Canada, and around 10 years ago, she had a stroke, and she's getting around, but. Right after the stroke, we were talking on the phone, and she said, Janis Joplin was right, Frank. Get it while you can. So I have no regrets. I am living my life to the max. I read something the other day where it said the most courageous thing you can do is live. It's like Hamlet, to be or not to be. Yeah, don't forget Neptune. Speaking of Hamlet, Neptune's in Pisces, and that square is still going on even though it's not exact much more. Pretty much the square is ending, but it's still going on for 6 more months with Neptune. So it's again easy access to higher consciousness, to get in touch with your source. I mean, it's been happening now for me for a while, but the thrill doesn't go away. Years ago, there was this kind of television personality sitting. She came with her entourage into my apartment, and this was when I first started around 30 years ago. She's no longer on TV, and things changed. But the phone rang, and back then we had speakerphone. I had the speakerphone and the answering machine thing, but I recognized the voice of a client I was working on this important thing with, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, I'm not going to mention her name. Let me just get this call. It'll only be 2 minutes." And I said, "Hi, hi," and everybody in the room heard her laugh. And she goes, "Frank, I got it. You were right. I got the job or whatever, And I said, "Well, listen, I can't talk now, but So then when I hung up the phone, she looked at me and very condescendingly said, "Oh, Frank, you think there would be ho hum for someone like you, but at this stage of the game?" And that stuck in my head for around months and months. And then I realized, God, if it ever gets to be ho hum, I don't even want to do it anymore. The thrill does not go away. BB King, you were wrong. The thrill is not gone. As from what I'm growing, that's why the spiritual path is the only show in town, because metaphysical here, because it just it goes as I said in my last shows back in the 50s. They discovered part in higher sensitivity perception. This part of the brains we don't even know what they're there for. Well, I understand what they're there for now. Yeah, your moon is your soul. And I realized on the way over here, this transit of Uranus to my Taurus moon, yeah, my soul will not be silenced now.